What's going on, y'all? This is Traveling Man. Do my next YouTube video. Sorry I've been away for so long. Just a couple things going on, job transitions, but everything's good. There's other things going on, but everything's good. I'm gonna hit y'all off with a doozy today. This one's gonna make a lot of people upset, but that's just the way it is. I'm gonna speak on the truth, and this video is pretty much about the recent issue. You see, Stephen A. Smith and just the issue of domestic violence in general. Stephen A. Smith, a columnist who works for ESPN, he was suspended for a week for a comment he made about Ray Rice. And basically, Ray Rice, if you don't know, it's a player who played for the Baltimore Ravens. Was suspended for 2 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. There's video of him dragging his wife out of an elevator, of course, which I don't condone. You should never put your hands on a woman. I understand that. And Stephen A. Smith, he agreed with that. He said, "Hey, a man should never put his hands on a woman." But what he got fired for was he said women out there shouldn't provoke men. That's all he said, and that's what he said. He said, "Hey, let's be careful not to women for not to provoke men." He didn't say women deserve to be beat or anything like. He said, "Hey, there's no reason for a man to hit a woman at all, but women out there had to be careful not to provoke men." That's all he said. And basically, what happened is Michelle Beadle is a columnist who works for ESPN too. She works for ESPN Sports Nation, and she came out and just was like, "Oh, I'm so hurt and so upset about Stephen A. Smith's comments." And she said, "I would never feel all this extra stuff. I would never feel clean about after hearing his comments." Which, in basically what had happened was she was in an abusive relationship, so I guess that touched her. I get that, but the thing is, he never said that women deserve to be beat at all. He just said you shouldn't provoke men. And she took that little comment and threw this brother under the bus. I don't like how the situation went down at all. I really don't like that. I really don't think had she made those comments about Skip Bayless, had Skip Bayless made those comments, or to be honest with you, anybody else white. I know people don't like hearing that, but this is the reality I live in. Her comments held so been so valid and been able to get somebody suspended. And like I said, how can you get suspended for something you didn't say? He never said that women deserve to be beat. But they took him and they threw him under the bus for her comments. She really put some extra stuff on us. And like I said, Michelle Beadle's already on the radar anyway because she really said some slick comments. She said some slick comments sometimes, like with Michael Vick. And of course, we know what happened with Michael Vick and the Dolls. It was wrong. I understand that. And he served his time, whatever the case may be. And he was saying that, one of the parts of his, I guess, rehabilitation process would be he would like to own a dog. And she was like, "Oh, is he?" She called him an animal. I never forget that on that show. She's like, "Oh, well, people who act like animals or people that are animals, they shouldn't be able to have dogs anymore." So her eyes are on the radar anyway. But she'll make those slick comments about Michael Vick with no resistance, but doesn't have the guts to call out. And sometimes they get into these political topics on the show. Doesn't have the guts to call out George Zimmerman or call out for killing Trayvon or talk about Darrell Wilson, this cop who killed a Michael Brown kid in Missouri. I hate to kind of date these shows, but kind of getting to the point in general. But I know she just those comments, and because Stephen A. Smith, I like Stephen A. Smith, but he's kind of sometimes he tiptoes on certain issues and kind of distances himself to a degree on certain things, and I understand because he has a job, he can't you know be 100% honest in certain situations. But unfortunately, when you kind of put yourself out there like that, you're on your own, which allows people to throw you under the bus like this. And this is exactly what happened. I don't like how the situation went down. I really think somebody, I'm not saying, like I said, I like Skip Bayless too, but I figured somebody would have been able to go to ESPN and say, "Hey, man, you can't suspend this guy." Like I said, you can suspend this guy over some comments that she interpreted, but he didn't say. And I'll post a video under here just to let you know exactly what he said. This is not up for debate as far as what he said and what he didn't say. But they still suspended him for a week. And this and this dude had to come out and just it was just pitiful. This dude had to come out and apologize, for something he didn't say. It was sad. It was like it's like they made him pull his drawers down in front of America and bend over. I mean, I hate to be so graphic. It was just like it was pitiful. And like I said, especially with something you didn't do, you know. And this issue goes back to just domestic violence in general. Like I said, once again, I don't believe a man should ever put his hands on a woman. So I don't agree with that. So I'm gonna keep saying this over and over again. But I don't believe a woman should put her hands on a man either. Everybody should be keeping their hands to themselves. If women want equal rights, and these are equal rights. It's such a double standard for everything, and that's not correct. Don't put your hands on anybody else, or don't put your hands on another man's face, or put your hands on another man if you don't expect to get hit back. Like, that's common sense. But we're under this false assumption that some women are under this false assumption, just because a man knows he's going to get arrested or knows something's going to happen, he's not going to put his hands on you. You mess with the wrong dude, that's not going to happen. You need to protect yourself. Hey, and my parents raised me. I have an older brother and an older sister. They raised all of us the same. They told my brother and me, as well as my sister, hey, don't put your hands on another person, whether it be a man. If you put your hands on another man, expect to be getting hit back. Now he'll be wrong, and we'll have to deal with that. But don't walk into the lion's den with stakes on and expect not to get bit. That's just the way it goes. Don't If you play with a snake, you're gonna get bit. And it depends on who you are. It's not some people can't handle that. You can be playing with you can see the most cute cuddly puppy in the corner, a nice little poodle. If you keep on pulling his tail, messing with him, eventually he's gonna bite you. That's the way it goes. And also shout out to Whoopi Goldberg. I love Whoopi Goldberg. She's about the only person that's real about these situations. And she was, Whoopi Goldberg from The View, and she got into trouble over saying if a woman puts her hands on a man, she should be expected to be getting hit back. Whoopi got in trouble over that. People gave Whoopi a hard time about that. And like I said, she's honest. Like, she comes from those days. And like I said, domestic violence has been around since forever. But back in those days, women knew good and well, if you put your hands on another man, you know what's coming back. And the police aren't coming down to protect you. And that's really the bigger issue right here, because a lot of women are so quick to jump on men because they know they can call the police and he'll get locked up. If the police presence wasn't there, a lot of you would know how to keep your hands to yourself. And that's just the truth. Y'all seen it. Y'all seen like certain situations on whatever TV, or heard about certain situations. Somebody will, I don't know, be in a club or be somewhere where there's a bunch of bodyguards, and they'll talk real slick to somebody or put their hands on somebody, knowing good and well that their bodyguards are there, security is there to break it up. But if it's just a one-on-one, they wouldn't do certain things like that. Or y'all remember going to school and somebody might try to put their hands on you and run, or try to say something slick to you and you want to slap them, but they know good and well the teacher's right across the street. So the teacher's like 20 feet away, so they can't do but so much. That's what's going on in a lot of situations. Letting women know out there, like, those days are coming to an end. I don't know if you all notice what's going on. A lot of these, if you notice across the board, domestic violence statistics have dropped, and it makes you think that domestic violence, as far as the act, is not happening as much anymore, and that's not correct. What's happening is it's not being reported anymore. Police aren't coming out like they used to for domestic violence cases. If I don't know if y'all have noticed, y'all go out, if you all know people in the police force, to ask them how often they go out for domestic violence cases now, as opposed to what they did maybe 5-10 years ago. Really look at it. Like, you remember, like, a few years back, like, there was a domestic violence situation on the news like every night, it seemed like. Or 10 years ago, there was always something about domestic violence and somebody going to jail for it. Now you don't hear that anymore. It's not being reported because police aren't really fooling with that no more. Unfortunately, I mean, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, some women have cried wolf. Not all. Once again, I don't agree with women being abused at all, and it's unfortunate because a lot of women that are really being abused, that a man just might have a bad temper or whatever the case may be, and flip on them, and they really do need police presence to help them. It's coming to the days where they're not going to be able to be helped anymore because too many women that, yeah, because I used to teach a domestic violence class. A lot of these cases where the men didn't do anything, or the woman hit the man first and he retaliated, and a lot of these cases get thrown out of court, and a lot of these men, these clients are like, yeah, I'm suing the police department. I'm suing the clients. I mean, the police officer who arrested me. I'm suing the state or whatever the case may be. All this stuff costs money. It costs time. It costs resources. And when these situations get thrown out of court, or the man might get a couple months in jail, when this stuff keeps piling up, it's not worth it. You got to go. You got to spend all this money, thousands of dollars in lawsuits and all this other kind of stuff. It's too much. It's too much, too much overhead. So now it's getting to the point now. Like I said, there was an article that came out in LA a couple of years ago where, I'm paraphrasing, the police pretty much said, like, hey, if somebody's not seriously hurt, like hospital hurt, don't even call us, because they're not really coming out like that. I'm not gonna tell you where I live, but in my state, domestic violence has dropped 6% in 3 years. in 4 years. It dropped 6%. So they in the article I read, it's like saying like, hey, this is a good progression we're seeing, that type of thing. What's happening is it's not being reported. Like I said, police officers, they're not, unfortunately, at this point, they're like, hey, we got bigger fish to fry. We don't have the money and time to go over a lot of these cases where, it just, like I said, you just dragging it out, and like I said, it's really unfortunate for the women who are really being abused, who really need that police presence. But this is what it's come to. So now some of you women are going to have to fend for yourselves now. So now you really going to have to watch where you put your hands and watch your mouth. Because some dudes are not playing that. As hard as things are now, some guys are not playing that. Don't you, like I said, don't you play, if you play with a snake and you get bit, don't blame the snake. You have to really be careful about that. So we definitely have to change certain things. Women out there, you have to start policing yourselves, and men too. A lot of men do a lot of cupcaking, and this type of thing, and want to defend women on every end. When they do bad things, and when they do things that get themselves messed up. So we have to change that if we want things to really change. We have to teach men teach your daughters, teach other women, hey, now yeah, no man should put his hands on you, but don't you put yourself in that position. Women the same thing. Women don't ever teach your daughters, well, a man should never hit you, so you can put your hand upside a man's face. He's never gonna do nothing. And no, teach your daughters, no, don't put your hands on anybody else if you don't expect to get hit back. That's the way it has to go. When you teach your child how to drive, or teach somebody how to drive, you don't just teach them how to. You teach them how to actually drive, as far as operating a vehicle on the road, but you teach them also how to protect themselves. Like, for example, you all know, like, when you get on the interstate and somebody else is supposed to yield on the other side and they don't. What do they say? Hey, let them go through. You don't try to put your foot on the gas and beat them when they're trying to cut in front of you. Cause we want to be dead, right? Yeah, you're right, but you're dead now. You're right, and your car is crashed up when you could have let them go by. It's the same thing. Yeah, they're still wrong, but your car is still crashed up. Does that make sense? It's so one-sided to where women can do whatever they want and nobody's gonna call it out. But when men do something, then it's on. Y'all saw what happened it was in New York, in a McDonald's. I think it might have been 2 or 3 years ago. And basically, what happened was this guy was working at McDonald's at the cash register, and the woman gave him, I believe, a $50 or $100 bill. It was two women, and how y'all have in the store. You pull out a 50, pull out 100. They look at it in the light to make sure that that government strip is in there, to make sure it's official bill, and not a counterfeit bill. And that's the way it happens. You have to do that or you lose your job. Makes sense to me. But this woman, these two women, first they cursed him out. Okay, but I guess you take that, strike one. They hit him, strike two, and then they jumped over the counter, strike three. And this dude took I think the little fryer holder, and he beat them down with it. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, why did you do that?" Like, well, why didn't y'all tell these women to not put their hands on this man? Why didn't y'all chastise these women for cussing this man and hitting them? Only after he retaliates do you say anything. This is why these situations happen. This happened last year in St. Louis. That bus driver, y'all remember the infamous, "You're going to jail now." Y'all remember that? It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. But what happened was, this bus driver, you have to have correct change when you get on the bus, and this girl didn't. So situation was, she sat up there in front of the bus. She cursed at this man once again. Uh, 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 Punched him, strike two, and then she spit on him, spit in his face. You know what this girl's had? She might have tuberculosis. She could have HIV, anything like that. She spit on this man, and everybody's just sitting around lollygagging, ha ha ha. It's so funny. But then when he gets up and hits his girl back, "You're going to jail now," and hits her back. He's like, "That's a female." Well, why did you? How come? Well, she was a female, but she started talking trash. How come y'all didn't tell her, "Girl, sit down, honey. Girl, sit down." This man's responsible for taking us, from point A to point B. This man's responsible for getting us to our destination. You really need to sit down. You're making us all look bad. Nobody said any of that. Only when he hits her back, then we're talking about what's wrong, what's right. But you didn't check her when she obviously crossed the line. And said there was no excuse for that at all. No excuse for that. But everybody just gave it a pass. And these are public situations, but they're more local. But even in the Hollywood world, that whole situation went down with I didn't like how that situation went down with Solange and Jay Z. Everybody made a big joke out of that. Like it's so funny for her to once again spit on this man, punch him, and kick him in the elevator, and kept doing it and kept doing it. And Jay, much respect to Jay, he kept his composure, but he would have been the animal. He would have been crazy had he hit her back. That's exactly what would have happened. Don't shoot. Shalon's lucky Jay Z's not me. I would have cut her off immediately. I don't play that. Risk my life and my my career because you got some kind of emotional attitude. There was no excuse for her to do that at all. Jay Z didn't do. I don't know what the backstory is. I'm not saying like I know what's going on in their personal life, but for her to do that, that was absolutely uncalled for. Everybody made a big joke about it. Ha ha ha! It's so funny, but Jay Z would have been an animal had he hit her back. But she was just emotional and she had a bad night and she had a bad temper and just she had a few too many drinks. There would have been no excuse for that had Jay Z done the same thing to her. I just don't like how it was. Jay Z got beat up. It's all fun and games. But had he hit her back, then it wouldn't have been funny. You see what I'm saying? That's not right. That's what I'm saying. These double standards are what's killing us. We have to have the same rules for everybody if you want things to go on. So nobody's called Solange out for that yet. This has been months since this is going on. Everybody just gives it a pass. You know, this is why women don't have to be accountable in these situations for these things. We have all to have to be held accountable for our own actions. Like I said, for every action there's a reaction. Like I said, this just in general, just a double standard for men in general is just funny to me. Like men and women across the board. Like a man has a bunch of kids by by multiple women. Hey man, that's your fault. Hey, you got a problem. You need to start protecting yourself. You need to slow down, whatever. When a woman has a bunch of multiple kids, well, honey, that's the man's fault. He put a gun to your head and made you, you know, sleep with him without protection. I mean, it's that type of thing. I'll tell you a quick story here to kind of bring the point to a head. I'll tell you the place I used to, well, I'm not going to tell you the place I used to work with, but it's world renowned and all that kind of stuff. But it's a place that has childcare. And in my area, the president of the district, he said what got him into working for it was he was working for it before he went to college. He was just working there, just offhand. And there was a mom, and she had two kids at the time. And there was just kind of rough around the edges kids. Grew up in a rough area, but he felt like he was reaching them, and they had a place to go where this place was, and they were able to interact with other kids and get their homework checked and get tutoring and just have fun, that type of thing, just childcare type of thing. And basically what happened was he quit the job and he went to college. I think he was just now graduating or just in the mix of college. I'm not sure what year it was, but he actually ran into them. Believe he graduated. He ran into them like a few years later, and at a McDonald's, and he said he saw the mother. I think the mother had like three more kids, I believe, at that time, and he just he was good to seeing them. They just made casual conversation, that type of thing, and it bumped through his head that one of the kids was missing, and he was like, where's your brother? He told asked guy, where's your brother? They looked sad after he walked back to their van, and they were like, oh well, he was killed, you know, um, in our old neighborhood. I didn't really have, the mother I guess didn't really have proper child care or finances for them to get into a type of child care program like she did with this. And he said that was his mission for wanting to be the president of that corporation, to make sure they try to expand and try to get in the areas and help kids out that need help. And hey, much respect for that. But my thing is, and much respect to the mother, man. I know that's to lose a child. I know that's an unbearable tragedy. I'm not making light of that at all. I feel for that. But my thing is, there's no responsibility at all for the woman. I mean, my thing is, if you can't afford two kids, why would you have three more? Am I grasping for straws here? Am I reaching, or does that make sense? Because he let it be known they were financially struggling initially with the two kids, but you had three more kids, and that's somebody else's fault. I'm not Marvin Gaye, but I want to know what's going on. There's no but when a man has a bunch of kids by a bunch of women, hey man, that's your fault. You deal with that. But it's just this big parade and all when a woman does it. I don't find that that's not fair at all. Just across the board, it's not fair. Like I said, just across the board. When I see when a woman, if a woman puts her hands on a man, she gets hit. There's all this sympathy for her. But if a man puts his hands on a woman and she hits him back, or for a man, if a man puts his hands on another man in that case, it's like they want to know what happened. Oh, so and so beat you up. Okay, what happened? Oh, you put your hands on him first. Hey, that's what you get. It's really just a nonchalant attitude when it's a man, no matter what it is. But it's always all these excuses for women. And I'm gonna break here. I'm gonna talk to some of my sisters, man. I love y'all. Just y'all have to be cognizant of certain things too. Because I see a lot of this happening too. A lot of you out there that are in relationships with men, not all. I'm just saying specifically. I'm speaking to, hey, my sisters to improve them. But, a lot of you that are calling the cops on these men that didn't do anything, or whatever the case may be, as far as that goes, because you want to throw him under the bus because he doesn't want to be with you, or you just want to act the fool because once again police are going to be there to protect you. Y'all have to cut that out. Because a lot of cats are getting locked up that don't need to be there. Understand what I'm saying? And like I said, hey, if you put your hands on him first and you quick to call the police on him, but dang, take some personal responsibility. And that's for women in general, but I'm talking about specifically because some of you sisters get real quiet when it's y'all want to go gung ho when a brother is in domestic violence, but when anybody of any other race does it, y'all seem to get really quiet about that. But y'all gung ho when a brother goes to jail. Certain things happen like that. That's y'all really one side on certain things. When Chris Brown got into a situation, and once again, I'm not defending Chris Brown. He shouldn't have put his hands on Rihanna. I agree. Hey, but as you see now, they're throwing him all. Once you get into the system, that's what I'm saying. Once you brothers get into the system, and their lives are over, you always got something going on. But yet, when David Hasselhoff, man from Baywatch, he allegedly broke his wife's nose. I didn't see you sisters really say anything about that. Oprah did a whole show on Chris Brown. This dude was 18 or 19 when he did that situation. You just talked about how he was an animal and he's going to hit you again. But like I said, when David Hasselhoff broke his wife's nose, Oprah didn't do a show on him. I'll just give you one example. I love Oprah. I'm just saying. Tommy Lee, didn't he allegedly beat Pam Anderson? And they have 2 kids together and he was in his 30s at the time. But you don't do a show on him. I wonder why. But when Chris Brown does it, it's the end of the world for him. And then when his people reach out to her to say, hey, let him come on your show, let him explain, let him make amends, you don't want to do that. But yet you let the Ku Klux Klan, yes, the Ku Klux Klan, on your show defend why they hate black people. So just in general, man, some of you sisters have to kind of watch that because they're coming for you now. Have you seen over the past few months a lot of these police officers are beating women up, beating the sisters up specifically? So the men are still out here to protect you. So if you out there are gonna continue doing this stuff, once they get the men out of the picture, you're next. You have to really be careful about that kind of thing. But like I said, it's all about personal responsibility. Once again, I don't agree with a man putting his hands on a woman ever. I don't agree with that at all. But you women have to be responsible for yourselves. And I'm gonna end it on this. Y'all remember? It's really the same parallels. Y'all remember this was a documentary that came out maybe 10 years ago or so called Grizzly Man. Some of you have seen it. And there was this guy basically who was like an animal rights activist, which is a beautiful thing. And he was advertising. I mean, he was promoting wildlife and grizzly bears and protection of them and things of that nature. But for some reason, he couldn't do his research or anything like that. This dude was literally going up to the mountains and living with grizzly bears for like 5 years, like literally jumping in the same rivers as grizzly bears. He was living in this little broken down tent. I mean, I guess he couldn't stand a few hundred feet away or go in a helicopter or something. Use whatever safety precautions to protect himself from these grizzly bears. He just was right in the mix of these grizzly bears. It was just, I mean, it's unbelievable when you see it if you all haven't seen that documentary. And like I said, by the grace of God, he got away with it for 5 years. And it was if this is a dice game, he crapped out. After that 5th year, what happened to him? He went over there one time, and a bear ate him and ate his girlfriend. But had he not been over there messing with them bears, that wouldn't have happened. And then the thing is so crazy, they killed the bear like it's the bear's fault. It's a bear. What do you think is gonna happen? That's why you don't mess with grizzly bears. You don't do that. Even his friends. I remember at the beginning of the documentary, one of his friends I mean, a good friend of his, he said when he heard about him dying, he actually wasn't surprised. He said he heard his wife scream one day. He ran in to see what's going on. Then he saw the guy's face on the news, saying that he passed away. And he was like, yeah, I can't be honest with you. Like I can't honestly say I was surprised. I knew this was going to happen, but yeah, I was sad. But I mean, I knew this was going to happen, you know. Had he left them grizzly bears alone, that wouldn't have happened. I mean, what I'm saying is, for every action, there's a reaction. We have to all take responsibility for our own selves if we want things to change. We can't just we want to be treated equally, but we don't want to follow the same guidelines. Don't you put your hands on anybody if you don't expect to get hit back. I'm sorry. So that goes for women too. Women, like I said, it starts now. Like I said, because police presence is already slowing down now, and it's going to be pretty much non-existence for you. Here in the coming years, so you have to really start protecting yourself. So now this whole idea of you can do whatever you want to a man, hit him, punch him, stab him, he's not going to do anything back. That's already coming to an end right now. So we have to teach women in society to be cognizant of that, and that's the only way things are going to change. All right. So that's going to be it for this video. Just a few points I wanted to pull out. I'm gonna probably do another video this week. I'm gonna talk about Robin Williams passed away. Big fan of Robin Williams. I'm gonna kind of break down a video for him and some of the bigger issues going on with that. So definitely look out for that. Leave your comments. Once again, let's have intelligent conversation. Nothing stupid, nothing ignorant. So if you have some comments, go ahead and leave them. And I'll be at y'all soon with the next video. Appreciate you listening. Have a great day.